Okay, what I'd like to do is to show you how I blend with acrylic paint. I get quite a few students that find it a difficult media to get used to when they're new to it. Personally, I think it's probably my favourite paint. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you two ways of painting with acrylic, and I'm going to go from a light yellow into a deeper red, and I generally find that's the easiest colours to blend with. So if you look here, I've got myself my two rectangles which I'm going to paint. I'm going to just paint the smallest one first. What you'll notice is there's a yellow substance around the outside of the rectangles, and that's called masking fluid. And essentially what that is, it's liquid when you put it on, but it's latex. And then what you can do is once it's dried, you do your painting, you simply rub it with your finger and it comes away. And it does leave a bit of a residue, but it gives you a nice edge that hasn't been painted. So essentially it protects the paper from the paint that you're going to put on it. So the first technique I'm going to show you, I've heard it called a hacking technique. I always imagine it's more like a series of little kisses on a card. So what you're going to do is you're going to do a series of little X's. So go in one direction, then the other, constantly varying direction. And then you're going to overlap one into the other. So start with my lightest. You want to put your paint on quite thick, because you want it to be a little bit mushier when the next colour touches. Now I spent about 5 minutes mixing my colours up before I started painting today. Make sure I got my hues right, there was no streaks of colours in there. And you'll notice very small brush strokes, only about 5mm in length. Now I'm expecting to have to do a couple of coats because it's acrylic paint, and although I haven't added water to it, I've actually added something called retarder, and this slows the drying process down by about 50%. But then the issue with that then is your paint gets a little bit transparent, which is not really what you want with acrylic paint. I'm just going to put my first coat on, and that should take away the stark white of the paper. You can see, I know I'm going to be going over it again. I don't want to rush it. And it's quite a nice way to warm up, get your hand used to the technique you're going to be using. So it's you get a bit of a rhythm going when you get used to it. So there's my first colour, very yellowy orange. Then I'm going to start with my next orange. I'm going to work downwards, but I'm going to start to work back towards the left, towards the first colour, and overlap it. And it's that overlapping when they touch and they're both wet, and that's what will create the blending. So one tone subtly changing into the other. As I said, definitely will need two coats. And now I'm going to start working back over where I've already been. Now when I do the second coat, I'm actually going to swap to a smaller brush as well, because the smaller the marks, the more subtle the blending will be. At the moment, because it's acrylic, it's the first coat, it looks a little bit smearer. You notice I started with my lightest tone. I always start with my lightest, well as a general rule actually, I'll start with my lightest and then gradually get darker. And I'm going to go to my third. There's quite a big difference there, you can see, between the first and the third. That's alright, it's going to subtly change. You've got that in-between colour. I'm going just on top of my masking fluid. As I said, that creates a nice barrier between the paint and the paper. So hopefully I should be able to rub it with my finger and it will just come away from the paper. Just need to overlap that a little bit more. Put a little bit more of this dark one. Take it a little bit further back. I'm going to go with my fourth colour, start about here. quite mushy I'm putting the paint on. So you should, in the moment, I know it's a little bit patchier, but you should be starting to see the how one colour's blending into the other. And so there's no big jumps of colour, it's a subtle change. Now the two colours touch and I start to overlap. Then what happens is that there's less of the colour I've got on my brush because it's going on the paper, but my brush starts to pick up some of that previous colour. I don't know, there's a bit there which jumped, but that's alright. I'll go back to that colour and I'll reintroduce some of that. I'm going to go to my pure red, I think. I'm going to start right on top of the gum strip this time because this is, in fact I don't like that, I think that colour's a bit too red. I'm going to do a little bit of mixing, otherwise I don't think I'll be able to blend very well over such a short distance. So, I've just got a little bit more orange in it. Only letting the very tip of my brush touch the paper. And that's my first coat. So now, at the moment, I've got my different hues on there. I think it could be a lot more subtle than that. So I'm going to start going over with a smaller brush. So rather than use a size 8, I'm going to try a size 6. So back to my lightest colour. And hopefully, I think them streaks will start to disappear as well now. It is a bit of an exercise of patience when you're painting with acrylic. Once you get used to the technique, it's really easy, and you get like a rhythm going with your wrist, so you don't really have to think about it too much. I've been painting with acrylic now for probably about 15 years, and I've tried oils and I work with watercolours, but this is definitely the one that I'd rather use. I think it's got a little bit more body than watercolour, so it's got a little bit more power, whereas watercolour can be a bit wishy-washy. A little bit further. Back into my second colour now. Okay, what I want to do is show you a different now of blending with acrylic. It's a lot faster. It's quite easy to do if you're doing it over a larger space. I haven't done it for a long time, so I'm hoping it goes right. Again, make sure you've got your colours mixed up first. And this time what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start with my darkest colour. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in a very stripy technique. I'm using an acrylic brush, but I'm using quite a soft one. I'm going to go to my next. I'll start here and I'll work backwards. I have to try and clean my brush a little. Go to my third colour. Go to one but last colour. And then go to my lightest colour, which is my yellow. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to work backwards, my lightest, going back over, back and forth, getting those colours to subtly blend into each other. And how much faster is that technique? So I'm just going to clean my brush a little because I don't really want to put any more paint on, but what I want to do is just force one colour to go into the other. Now you can see I put the paint on a lot thicker then. And that is very simple, a much faster way of blending. But it's not so easy if you want to do it over a very small area. Just going to get rid of those stripes there. And we'll see how that looks when it dries. That will look alright. Thanks for watching. Look at that, guys. Look at that for getting a straight edge now. With that, you know, I was saying about that not gum strip, sorry, masking fluid.